Howdy folks, welcome to Bullish on Farming. Today's October 24th and just checking in on the hogs. Been a while since I've made a video, good chunk of the summer. We haven't been doing the best at documenting and sharing, but we love what we do, so every time we come around we hope you appreciate it. It has been a phenomenal year, and we're going to talk a little bit about how things have gone and where we're at today. This paddock that they're in, they moved into 2 days ago, and it is lush. Okay, it's gotten about 110 days of rest, and it's more rest than we thought we were going to get, but that's because I guess we had a good problem. The amount of pigs and the spacing that I've been doing with paddocks hasn't been at the density that I thought. And although that has posed, some disadvantages with regards to sowing feed, because we're not necessarily getting the type of impact that tickles the soil enough for us to densely sow grain and foraging plants for these animals. The plus is that we've gotten enough of an experiment going that we are clear on how we can move forward and lean into a program that facilitates our animals harvesting as much energy from the soil as possible. And so this year we sowed oats, field peas, and sunflower, which, got kicked in the butt by the frost that came about a week and a half ago. But the sunflower was a great addition, pumps a lot of energy into the soil, offers a lot of stalk, seeds, draws wildlife like birds, and, life attracts life. So we're definitely going to want to have some sunflower in the mix. The O's and P's, great. I'd like to include some amaranth for the next year and some other stuff so that we can stop sourcing our grain off farm. Now, I do have a contact or a friend who is a small grain, well, relatively small compared to the big guys. He's an organic grain producer, and he has a mill on the farm, and we get custom feed. And so, I can go no corn, no soy. We did start with low corn and low soy, but now we're moving completely to no corn, no soy, field peas, oats, barley. That's primarily what these pigs are getting. We also soak their feed in raw milk from our dairy cow. We include eggs from our layers, and stuff that's pulled out of the garden goes to the pigs as well. That on top of all of the pasture that they're foraging. These pigs get a very diverse diet, and they live optimal hygienic conditions, which is translated through their health. We do have that wagon over there, which is their shade structure, and it suffices for up to about 15 pigs. You can see we're down to about 5 growers now. I have 6 smaller growers out in an isolated pen, and then 3 breeders. And that's our permanent pastured paddock setting. That's great for the winter time. We also have our corral, and it's where we sort and load. And, having an isolation pen that allows separating smaller pigs from larger pigs, especially since we're still buying in weaners until our farrowing program kicks in. And having that permanent fenced-in section over there is perfect because, it's a place where we can really take the time to train our pigs to electric fence because it's all lined with tensile on the inside. And they get trained to that with inner fencing within that paddock as we section off different areas. Once I'm confident enough, they come out here because all we use is a single wire, just like with the cows, poly braid. And that keeps the pigs in. If they have everything they need in here, I find the pigs don't want to leave. They don't even think about it. And they, of course, get a nice friendly reminder from the voltage every time they touch it with their nose. And that's not a bad thing. That's why it's there. So you can see that in this paddock, just in 2 days, all the oats are gone. A lot of the sunflowers are gone. And they're still working on, the grasses. But you can see in this field what it looks like when they enter, okay? A lot of field peas, oats. And the areas that get tickled much harder are the ones that sow thicker, like this patch over here. So this patch over here resembles something like the far end over there where you see we have some strong rooting that's been done. And we'll go over there and talk about that in a second. But if we go over here, you know, we can take a look at the oats and the field peas right here. And, you know, these animals evolved foraging, not being spoon-fed. So we want to lean into that, and it goes great with the type of product that we're offering. Right now, it's about 2 week in this 2 week occupancy in each paddock. And, you know, I just ballpark the size. I don't measure it out. We don't worry too much about that. And you can see, so this was 2.5 weeks. You can see what type of disturbance we got here. I didn't bother sowing seed here now. I did after the first pass of the pigs, and it was great, but we're not gonna get much regrowth from here. So the game plan is this. Early spring, pigs will come out into this paddock to start. They'll stir it up, tickle it up a bit. I'll broadcast seed, leave the pigs in for no more than 24 hours, allow them to trample in and work in the seed. Of course, they're gonna consume some, and they'll poop it out in their manure, which would be great for germination. And that's what we did this year, and it worked great. Then quickly, after we've sown, we're gonna hop to the next paddock. And you know, this one's gonna be disturbed probably just like the one I'm standing in now. And so we'll do the same thing. We keep doing that until we get a strongly rested, fully grown out paddock where we now hunker down to 2 week occupancy periods and start munching down on foraging, and then progress through the field. By the time we get back here, which will be around 100 days rest from when the seed was sown early spring, everything will have shot up with the spring flush. There'll be plenty of energy waiting for our animals, and we just proceed again. It's kind of like a carousel wheel, this field. We always have connection back to the gate where I bring the pigs in to sort for butcher, because we send pigs monthly. And we just push through this field. Now, last year we had the cows starting in this field to keep the grass down. It does much more for the cows, converting the solar energy from the vegetative feed into meat when you're talking beef. And then we come with the pigs soon behind, which only need about a foot or two of grass, and then they get to consume it. So we have multi-species grazing working in this field, which gives us the biggest bang with regards to feeding our animals, because we also have our layers circulating in here, and we run our pasture-raised broilers in here. So this field gets a lot of deposit and a lot of action, but it works great because the rest periods that we're giving it is still in the range. When you're talking about all the animals, each place that's touched is still getting anywhere from 60 to 100 days rest. And so that's working great for us. And, you know, people like to talk about regenerative management and they're moving their animals around. And I don't want to attack anyone. But the truth is if you're not giving your land ample rest and you're moving your animals around, you're not doing regenerative work. And I'm not condemning anyone, but let's just talk about it as it is. Regenerative management, in my experience, is farming in a way that honors nature's self-healing and self-regulating properties and characteristics. You can't do that if it doesn't get to rest. Rest, all the action happens in the rest. The work that you're doing with the animals is only so the ground can then rest thereafter the work you've done. And that's when the manure and the disturbance and the impact actually works, is when the ground gets to rest. So I want to take a quick peek in here, because here we are in fall now. And you can see that by the time I had this section here that was fenced off, I think that was, when was it? That probably would have been sometime in September. So we did get a bit of a bounce back. And you got to remember that this permanent setting that we're in gets hit harder than anywhere out there. Okay? Simply because this is a place of holding animals. And we do have barn space, but I don't want my breeders in the barn from spring to fall. Okay? Year round, I really want them outdoors primarily, but we're working with what we got. We got a lot of infrastructure. I'm not going to put it to waste because I'm too religious with regards to pasture-based management. But the idea is, you know, keeping the animals on the land. And we've selected breeders, which are Mangalitsa crosses, to stay with that. Because these animals thrive in 4 seasons, and you'll even hear about them farrowing in the winter. And I can see this girl wants this apple, which is fallen from our apple tree here. Still has some fruit, and we got another one in there, which is a nice addition to this paddock. But as we get closer to December, those growers coming back over here, you know, if we start getting snow and that single wire around the perimeter starts getting covered, we have the woven wire as the perimeter last stand of defense in here. So, you know, they'll have some stuff to work with once they move in here. Not much, but enough to get to the snow and ice, which will end up covering all this ground anyways for a solid 2 months. And those smaller growers there will merge with the group in here. And when I talked before about using interfencing, this is what I'm talking about. Just polybraid. So we have our Berkshire Boar crossing with a Mangalitsa Tamworth cross gilts. And, you know, we're not too worried about purebred. I'm actually crossing the Mangalitsa because I'm trying to bring the fat content down while maintaining the desirable qualities of these hardy foragers and their 4-season characteristics with their coats, and their ability to convert energy from the soil into meat much more efficiently than, you know, muscled breeds that have been taken into conventional production. So these pigs, I'm sure they're going to be happy to be out of here soon. I'm just tying over, bridging the time between getting these breeders out in a barn over there, and we're going to farrow because they're first time gilts. And I'm not the most experienced with farrowing, so having a controlled setting in the barn with our Canadian winter on the horizon, I feel good about this year. But, you know, building additional fencing so that we can farrow outdoors in the desirable times of year, particularly probably between spring and fall rather than outside of that window. We'll aim for that with pasture-based farrowing. But you can't do everything at once. And, you know, I used to always be so hardcore and get wrapped up with keeping things on the land and natural, and that is the goal. But again, it doesn't need to be a religion when you're talking about setting your animals up for success and moving towards your goals sustainably. You know, we just moved on this farm back in December, so a bunch of regrouping had to be done after leaving our last farm. So anyways, folks, before it gets too long, I'll cap it off here. I'd like to say thanks for stopping by, and God bless you all. I'll see you on the next one.